If you are easily offended, you're going to want to shut this video off right now. Please bear in mind, I'm not setting out to offend you. Quite the opposite, in fact. What today's little video essay focuses on is the idea of innuendo, implication, and suggestion in old comic books. You see, it's easy to look back on things created in the past and laugh, as we understand the meaning and intention of certain words and phrases have changed over the years. In those more innocent times, it seemed every girl was pining for Dick, and Joker pulling a boner was par for the course. That said, for every one of these arguably innocent examples, you have some cynic thrusting their giant-sized man-thing in your face. Of course they meant it, they say, and sometimes it's hard to refute it. Case in point, I give you boners, pulled or otherwise. Much has been made of the term boner in old comics. While it has a different connotation today, back in the 1950s, pulling a boner meant making a mistake, committing a blunder, a screw-up, a goof. The term's best-known comic appearance is in The Joker's Comedy of Errors from Batman 66, August of 1951. In that issue, Joker's boner is a thwarted getaway after a spectacular crime. And while it makes sense to use the term in the story once, the fact that it's repeated a grand total of 16 times may seem a tad intentional. But when it comes right down to it, this is pure unbridled cynicism on our part. All of Joker's boner talk is simply innocent banter from a time when we weren't all so twisted and perverse, and there's nothing to suggest otherwise. Absolutely nothing. 2. Sticky business. Old comics possess a viscosity that may seem strange to readers in 2019, but back in the day, there was nothing untoward about errant, pearlescent blobs jetting about with impunity. Flying white goo was simply par for the course in old comics, and should in no way be construed as anything dubious or suggestive in nature. This is innocent slabber, a benign semi-fluid, simply included to increase the verisimilitude. The idea that these glutinous white streams are suggestive of some sort of unspeakable bodily fluid is a stretch at best. I mean, what self-respecting editor would allow such a thing, were it to be true? Don't buy it for a moment, folks. This is all totally copacetic. 3. Spankings. Well, you'd have to be really twisted to think something like this good old-fashioned form of physical dissuasion had any odd or improprietary undertones. Back in the day, a good old-fashioned spanking was the answer to many of life's unanswerable questions. Backsass? Onanism? Women's suffrage? You'd simply spank it out of the offending party. It was a perfectly legitimate way of making a point without going too far, an almost laudable exercise in self-restraint on the spanker's part. To imply anything otherwise is an outrage. Why, the nerve! I ought to take you across my knee right... Never mind. 4. Dick. Alright, those of you who enjoy old comics may notice the recurrence of certain standard American names when it comes to your male characters. We've got our Mikes and our Steves and our Bills and our Dicks. For whatever reason, Dicks played a big part in romance comics at the time. It seemed every other story featured a comely, long-lashed lass crying her eyes out over a crumpled Polaroid of some dick or other. Indeed, for a while it seemed like there wasn't even enough dick to go around. known as the Dick Shortage of '74, a run for the pumps, our rationing, skyrocketing prices, and an overall demand that national resources simply couldn't meet, leading to a slowly diminishing presence for Dicks in comics. And while not completely absent for the pages today, the era of every gal pining for Dick may be over. Who can say, really? As history has shown us, even when he's down, Dick is far from beat. 5. Perfectly innocent. As you can see, so far this is all perfectly innocent stuff. Oh sure, if you choose to find some perverse meaning in this panel, I can't stop you. But maybe you're letting your cynicism affect your judgment, huh? Maybe there's a teething issue going on. Yes, you can look at this picture of a pig in love with a hillbilly and infer all sorts of things, but that's all you're doing is making an inference. I mean, back then a man and his porcine companion could live free of the judgment of his fellow man, or at least we'd look the other way when we saw the two of you together on a date. That's how society maintains its innocence, damn it, through a healthy mixture of ignorance, skepticism, and denial. Look, we didn't need to be told those guys and gals producing the funny books were deviants. We understood that they weren't fit for anything else. Useful roles like roller skating waitresses or black ops snipers were reserved for us normal American folk. But it was understood that we'd allow these weirdos to make a living drawing harmless, disposable entertainment for the kids, as long as they followed the code. I mean, it's not like these creators would turn around and put subversive or lascivious messages in those comics as some sort of reprisal, right? Right. 6. Riverdale, After Dark. When I was a kid, few comics were as wholesome as an Archie. In their pop group incarnation, the gang had the #1 single of 1969, a successful Saturday morning cartoon show, and a slew of Christian comics from Spire that had the kids acting very moral and upright. But some folks today would have you believe there was more going on after dark in Riverdale than kids developing acne. Would you believe that people think there's some sort of weird sexual undercurrent going through these perfectly innocent comics? Now, I could argue this point, but instead I'll shut up for a minute and I'll let the comic make its own case. Fair enough? Let's go. See? All perfectly innocent. 7. Camping it up. You may have noticed a unique type of character in old comics. Witty, charming, flamboyant, these colorful rogues flit about the fringes of the four-color world, their knowing smiles conveying some secret mystery to the perceptive reader. What is it that sets them apart from other men? What is the curious difference that nature dare not speak? Why, they're all European, of course. I mean, how else could you explain their immaculate hygiene, fashion sense, and outrageous accents? Man, if only I could get one to marry my daughter, huh? In closing, you guys need to get out more. Put down those comics, go to the park, and breathe some fresh air. As I've made abundantly clear, there is simply no case to be made that yesterday's comics were anything other than what they've always claimed to be: fun and wholesome entertainment for the whole family. It breaks my heart that so many of you have lost the magic spark that made comics the experience that they once were, your own warped and twisted desires manifesting in the form of decades-old ink. Are you really so sick? Could you really be so blind? Oh, and if you see Dick, could you tell him that my girlfriend is looking for him? At least I think that's what she said. For the old guys who like Old Comics Network, I'm Jason Mink. If you enjoyed this video, please consider purchasing one of our great Old Guys products. We have t-shirts, mugs. Check them out at the link below. And thanks for watching.